Hello, welcome back to the Villa View. It's time for a match preview for Villa's game against Fulham at Villa Park on Sunday afternoon, 4:30 p.m. kickoff. Trying to see how much information I can fit in to my opening sentence. This show, as ever, is sponsored by Luke Roper. If you use the code TVV20, you'll get 20% off almost everything at luke1977.com. And I will say, there's a big 80% off warehouse sale already going on at the moment, so you can knock a 20% discount if you stick that code in on top of that, and you'll save yourself a huge amount of money on some of their clothes. So go on the website and check it out. Looking cool, a bit like he's in the business there, Chris Dolan in his Luke.
Does that mean it'll be 100% off then? No.
Well, you know what, I thought that earlier, but then no, it's 20% off the 80% price, so it doesn't work like that. It's not for a. It's not how it works. I mean, that would be an incredible discount code, but I don't think we'd make any commission on that, so it wouldn't be that great.
They'd be giving it away, literally.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes they do literally give away some of their surplus stock. So, yeah, go and have a look at that and check it out. But we aren't here to talk about clothes. We are here to talk about Aston Villa playing Fulham on Sunday. And the big news, Dolan, is that Jack is back. We hope now, because if he's not, we're going to look very stupid. But it looks like he's going to be back on Sunday. He's been in all the training videos, all the training pictures all week. And I'm sure the Villa social media team would not have done that unless he was going to play, mate.
I thought they would have still kept it under wraps until
an
hour before kickoff, just to freak out the opposition. But no, it's great to see him back, and it just gives everyone a lift. Just gives the fans a lift, and let's hope we can finish the season off strongly, because it's been a pretty tough watch over the last 4 weeks, and just to have someone of his quality come back into the squad, and everyone just raises their game, and it just shows you how important one piece of the jigsaw is. We're just not the finished article if he's not there, and I think when you add him back in the mix, all of a sudden we look like that top 8 team that we all thought we would be. So listen, 10 games to go. Let's hope we can find some kind of form that we had this time 2 years ago. But yeah, it's just great to have him back. And I think that on top of that, I think you look at McGinn this week. He's been banging them in for fun, and Watkins has obviously scored for England on his debut. I think the international break could have done some of our lads the world of good. So looking forward to Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, Watkins has obviously bagged the goal and then had pretty much a week off, hasn't he? So he'll come back buzzing that he scored, but also he'll be fresh because he's played every minute for Villa so far this season. So he needs as much rest as possible. And like you say, I think you take anyone else out the Villa side, and I think, like, for example, if Martinez comes out, Mings comes out, there'll be a little drop in the player that comes in. You take Jack out, and he is literally irreplaceable. That there's nobody else you can put in that can do anything like he can do at the whole football club. So you're always going to struggle when he's not there. But it has been a bit disappointing, hasn't it, that since he's not been there, nobody really stepped up, and you'd have thought a few of the bigger players may have stepped up for us.
Yeah, I thought Smith's comments after the Spurs game were quite sort of damning, in the only way Smith can be damning. He seems like quite a nice guy, but I think he said even the players were waiting for Jack to come back. And part of me thinks
he did feel like that, didn't it?
Yeah, and part of me thinks I was pleased for him to hear it. I was pleased for him to say it, because he's not stupid. The fans aren't stupid, and I like to think the people at the top certainly aren't stupid. And there's part of me that obviously everyone can see what's happening, but there's part of me that maybe thinks, in a way, not having Jack there for the last month maybe in the long run could benefit us, because we have to spend in the summer. We have to go big. We have to improve that top half of the pitch. We cannot go another season and rely. This will be essentially the third season in a row where we're relying on one person, on one player, and I think eventually that's going to catch up on him. He seems to obviously take it in stride. He seems to just love it. So maybe it suits him. But I just think as a club and as owners, they'll be looking at that and saying, we're far from the finished article. And it's something I was sort of banging on about all season, really. Even when we were winning, it was always that case of, well, what if we lose a player? What if we lose even Watkins? What if we lose Jack? There's no one really that can come in off the bench. So there's nobody really in the squad that can replace him. And we thought Barkley would kind of be that missing, that sort of second bit of real real quality that we miss. But unfortunately, since his injury and since he's come back, he's should be a completely different player, and so he's not stepped up. He hasn't really played, and yeah, it's just as you say, it's been very, very disappointing, yeah, I think it's time that the players put a shift in, and we just need 3 points on Sunday.
Yeah, I think you raise a good point there. I think in the long term, I think now going into the summer, I think alarm bells will have been raised at the hierarchy, and perhaps maybe
Yeah,
positions
no,
they didn't
definitely.
think they needed to splash out. I think they probably will now. I think everyone at the club will now know we need to get some more quality in those front three positions, and someone for competition for Watkins as well, because
Yeah,
he can't do it on his own in terms of being a striker. But the other thing you've said there is Jack says himself, pressure's a privilege. It
yeah, he
doesn't bother
does.
him.
Yeah,
Doesn't bother him one bit. He loves being the talisman, but I'm sure he'd like it as well as there's a few other better players around him, because if Villa are to keep this world class talent over the next few years, I think he's here next season regardless. But if we're to keep him happy, we're going to need to be a better footballing side, because he needs Champions League football for someone of his ability, to be fair. But at least by the end of next season, you'd want Villa to be having Europa League football to tempt him to stay with, because the kid should be playing on the biggest stages possible. And Villa are going to have to do something over the next few years big to get there. But they might do, because the owners have shown that they won't mess around, and they want to
well,
keep Jack happy themselves. They want to build it around him.
I said it at the start of the season when he signed the contracts. I said I'd love to have known what conversation Suarez and Edens and Purcell and Smith had with him, because there's no way we were going to keep him after last season's horror show, and he would have had offers, and not that we need to sell him, but you almost sort of want to set him free a little bit, because there's times where you just think, well, he's just too good for us. He's too good for us. So I'd love to have known what the owner said to him, because there's no way that they would have said we're going to get top 4 next season, so sign a 5-year deal, please. They would have said what I would imagine would have been, listen, this is going to be season on season. I still think we've had a little bit of an FFP hanging over our heads, but I mean we spoke to people within the club, and all we hear from the staff at that football club is how incredible those owners are, and how incredibly run the club is from top to bottom. And this is a long-term project, and I think that this summer we're going to go big. I think we're going to get at least 5 or 6. I think you look at players that maybe you're going to be moving on. I don't think we'll recoup any money really for anyone, but I think we'll see players move on. I think obviously Taylor will move on, Hurahan will move on. Maybe who else is in that squad?
Will be gone.
Maybe Elm will go. But I mean, we're not going to make any
Engels.
money on these players really. Hurahan a couple of million. Taylor's out of contract. Elmo's out of contract. Engels probably might go. So maybe we get 5 or 6 million quid for him. So we're not going to be selling players to make money. We're going to be selling players to move them on, and improve the squad. And I think as a unit, as a defensive unit, we are in a brilliant position. I mean, really, for me, that to get that defensive solidity right this season is massive, and we've got that right. We've got the sort of the foundations now, to bring in those flair players, those attacking players. The thing is, if you've got a back 4 and a keeper like that, you can afford to have a front 3 or 4 that are unpredictable, that play off the cuff, that drift from position to position, and almost are like that sort of maverick player in Jack Grealish. They're just so unpredictable and just world class on their day. So I'm really excited for the summer. I just want to cement that top 10 place. I think a top 10 place would be amazing from where we came from last season. I think the stats overall as a football club and over the season have been incredible. Our defensive record's been amazing. Our clean sheet record's been amazing. And there's been some unforgettable performances this season. But I'm really looking forward to next season, and I'm really looking forward to what kind of players we attract, because I think these owners are going to go big, and they mean business, and the club is in a really, really, really healthy position. I know we've had some bad results over the last 3 or 4 weeks. I know the mood's a little bit sort of low amongst the fan base, myself included, because we want to see our team win games of football. But I think overall we're just in a really, really, really strong position. I've said it again, could be worse. We could be, a Newcastle fan, and we've been there. We know what it's like to have an owner that's not interested, an owner that hasn't got the interests of the club and the fans at heart. And that's certainly not us. I think we're in a great position to kick on and have an even better season next year.
Yeah, all the sound bites coming out of the club that I hear are positive in every area, really. Everyone talks about what a great place it is to be. I'm talking about people behind the scenes as well, not even just players, the management and people like that. Everyone talks about what a happy place it is. It's in the best shape it's ever been in. I think you've raised something good there. You say about if you get the defence right first, that's a great platform. Yeah. I think that's what we've done this season. I think we've given ourselves a platform. You also said about the conversation the owners would have had with Jack. There isn't a chance in the summer when he signed that deal, they're saying to him, yeah, we're going for Europe this season. They'll have said, we're going to solidify, try and push ourselves into the top half and go for Europe the season after, make some improvements and see what happens. And essentially, I think the season's been better than we ever could have imagined, but we've set out what we would have said to Jack. So again, I think that's a positive thing. Let's go on now to talk about Fulham a little bit.
Just quickly, just on that. So no, I just think if I'm an owner, if I'm Purse or Dean Smith or one of the owners, I would sit Jack down in the summer and say, what do you want? Who do you want us to bring in? Tell me the kind of player you want at our football club, and we will go and get him. That's how important Jack Grealish is to this football club.
That stuff happens. That guy has a heavy say in what happens.
He has a big say in what goes on, and quite rightly so. Quite rightly so. The guys dragged us through the mud. In terms of what we've been down and out, and he's just pulled us. He's pulled us out of sticky situations. And look where we are now, and look where we've been without him. In the last, even in the championship, we were bang average. And then this season, when he's been injured, we've missed him massively. So if I'm an owner of the club, I sit him down and say, Jack, what do you want? Give me a list of 5 or 6 players that you'd like us to try and get in. If we can't get these players in, we'll get players very, very similar. I honestly think we'll see Tammy back next summer, this summer. I do. I think it's just the right time. I think with what's going on in Chelsea with Tuchel, I think they're going to go big and try and get in people like Haaland. I think he's going to tap up his kind of European contacts. I think we'll probably see a Chelsea setup very much the way it was under Abramovich just at the start when he came in. I think they'll spend big, and I think they'll probably.
Well, we saw that last summer, kind of, didn't we? Well, I say kind of. They spent a fortune.
They did, and I think now the English core of that team might start to sort of dwindle, and if we can get Tammy back at Villa Park, it'd be incredible. You got Tammy, Watkins, Wesley's coming back to fitness. It's great to see him back. Amazing for him to come back. And I still think we need another number 10. We need 2 wingers, and we need cover at left back. I'd love to get in your man Nico Henry at Brentford, and we need cover at right back and another centre back. That's
the whole every position on the field. We need someone.
That's my wish list.
You've turned it to Neil in previous shows. Neil wants us to sign everyone. Give us some names. Although you've given us names, haven't you? You said about Tammy Abraham. Tammy Abraham wouldn't surprise me either. I really think he'll be on Jack's wish list. And it sounds stupid to say that one player should have such a big say, but I think it's a very unique circumstance with Jack. He's a Villa fan.
Yeah.
He's an absolute outrageous talent. Not many clubs have one player like him. He lives and breathes at Aston Villa. I think it's right that he has a say, and I think he's got a great relationship with Nassef from what I hear. I think they speak on text quite a lot. So yeah, he'll have a big say into what goes on in the summer.
I know we'll do. You probably know more of an in-depth knowledge of him in terms of players than I do across the leagues.
I play Football Manager, mate.
Exactly. Who would you? Just give me 3 players. We'll just do 3. Cause I'm sure we'll do on this. Give me your 2 wingers, because I think that's a really important area. 2 wingers and a striker that you'd like to see us go for in the summertime.
Well, I'd like Tammy because I know he fits in at Villa. He fits in with the way Dean Smith wants to play football. So I think if we can get him, I think he's a no-brainer. You've absolutely just put me on the spot, and I don't have any other names. I think I'd be surprised if 2 wingers came in.
Who?
Sorry?
Rashika,
I genuinely didn't
is
hear
that
you
is
about
that
that.
dead water
I think that boat's
finished?
sailed. Yeah, they're not
Yeah,
going to mess around. They're not going to mess around with him again. I don't think
yeah,
after what happened in the summer. So no, I don't think we'll be going for him. But I mean, I'm not on the transfer committee, so but Tammy is the one that I think every Villa fan would want to see. You'd want to see him in there, and let's hope that does happen. Jack back for
yeah,
Fulham, absolutely excellent. We spent the whole podcast talking about Jack Grealish so far, so let's talk about Fulham a little bit because me and you both like Fulham. Before we came on,
yeah,
we're both saying we want
yeah.
Fulham to stay up. I've actually been really impressed with them. I think they had a dodgy start to the season, but I think Parker has been very clever in what he's done. A bit like Villa last season in a way. He made sure he got the defence right, gave him a platform, and they're still struggling to score goals a little bit, but they'll keep clean sheets now and they won't concede many goals, which always gives you a chance. And they've actually got some great players going forward. I mean, talk about players that I like. I like Lookman. If they were to go
Mm,
down, he'd be someone that I'd look at. I think he's only on loan, isn't he? So he's at Leipzig, but he's going to be coming back
yeah.
to the UK at some
And
point. He's
Greece is a talent as well. I think he's a player, and Greece is really good.
I like their
But yeah, with
centre back as
Fulham,
well.
I Anderson,
He's
yeah,
good.
he's a player. And the keeper's good. I've been down to the cottage many times. As you said, it's a great day out. I've seen
Yeah, we
some
want
great
them to
games there.
stay up, don't we? Because we want to be going there next season.
Saw Fulham beat Juve there actually, which was a memorable night, just in terms of like seeing the great teams of Europe. I've seen Fulham against Roma, against Shakhtar, because when you got that kind of football on your doorstep, that was about 10, 11 years ago. Why would you not want to go and see teams like Roma and Juve? It was amazing to see Bobby Zamora absolutely tear Cannavaro apart. Was was quite a sight.
He's about
But
a foot taller than him.
no, I've got a lot of yeah, it was some game, man. Some game that was incredible. If you haven't seen that game, go on YouTube and type in Fulham against Juventus, second leg in the UEFA. Unbelievable. Clint Dempsey's chip, incredible. But yeah, this is a Villa podcast, by
Yeah,
the
but
way.
we do like
With both
Fulham. We
Villa
do
fans.
like Fulham.
No, I've got lots of time for them. Got a lot of time for them, and as a club, I think they've made some errors, let's say, over the last 2 3 years, but. I love Scott Parker. Got a lot of time for Scott Parker. Met him a few times. Actually dressed him for
I absolutely do. That
a
story was going to come out.
couple of magazine shoots back in the day, and I credit the fact that he wears the tie pin because of me. That was all my work. But yeah, got a lot of time for Parker. I think he plays the game in the right way. I'm glad they stuck with him when they went down. I'm glad he stuck with him in the championship, and I'm glad they've stuck with him this season. The thing about Fulham is, I think he said, well, I know he said for a fact that the core players that got them up in the championship, he would give them a couple of games in the Premier League to see how they get on. People
He
like
couldn't,
Hector
he couldn't do it.
and he just, as Carragher said, he wasn't. I think that's one of the sound bites this season. He wasn't as sure as anything that Fulham would go down. And we went there and we just tore them to shreds. They were just it was so easy. But for sure, it's going to be a different game. They've really tightened up. They play some good football. They don't concede many, but they don't score. They don't score many. They've probably had far too many draws as well. They're sort of
Yeah,
victims of
loads.
too many draws. If you turn a few of those draws into wins, then they're going to be outside that bottom three. But it's a really
I think they'll
interesting
stay up.
battle.
I think they'll stay up.
I don't know. I don't. It's tough. It's hard to call. I mean, don't get me wrong. I hope we batter them on Sunday, but I'd love to see them stay up. I think they're a great club. Obviously it's a London club. We both live in London, so it's nice to go down to be able to see Villa there every season. So, and yeah, I just think I think it'll be tough. I just have a feeling that Newcastle, Bruce being the kind of manager that he is, he seems to just get results when he really, really, really needs them. And I think he might just put it off. But
I think
no,
they've won
massive respect for
two
Fulham.
in 18, so he's needed a result for a while. If they've won 2 in 18, hasn't
Yeah,
he? And he hasn't been getting. I think they're in free fall. And I think Fulham, you can see what they're trying to do. I think they're kind of on the up. I think they'll get the wins required, whereas I'm not sure Newcastle will. And I think I feel sorry for the Newcastle fans because their situation is absolutely
oh,
horrendous.
it's
But I think
dire. Yeah, it's
most
dire.
people would like to see Fulham stay up and Newcastle go down, not because of the fans, but just because of the manager and the owner, really. I mean, if your owner has a lack of interest in the club, you're going to struggle. So I'd like to see Fulham stay up, to be honest. But yeah, we want to obviously see Villa rip them apart on Sunday. But it won't be that kind of game. Villa
No.
will be buoyant because Jack will be playing. But Fulham, as you say, that they don't concede many, but they don't score. Mitrovic has had a good international break. I'm surprised. I'm not surprised because when I watch Fulham, they're better without him. But if you'd have said to me Mitrovic wasn't going to play much football, I'd have said, well, they're definitely not going to stay up then because he's been their main man in the past. But he stumbled on a different way of playing with a bit more of like an attack that will stretch defences. And Mitrovic hasn't really been part of it, but he's been scoring for fun in the international break for Serbia. So he might be a useful. I mean, if you look at their bench for a striker to bring on and our bench for a striker to bring on, I think they'll probably be the happier.
Yeah, of course. Well, there's I mean, most clubs in the league have got better striking options than we do. We haven't got any really, but I think they've got a lot of talent going forward. I mean, Maji's come in there and bagged the brace against Everton. He hasn't scored since, but he's a good finisher. Lookman, I've always rated Lookman, even from his Everton days. I was impressed. You know, I'm surprised that I think Big Sam actually saw them on the Leipzig. I was very surprised because even when I watched him for Everton back in the early days, he was kind of a bit like Iheanacho, you know, where he scored the hat-trick against us at Villa Park for Man City, and I was like, this guy's a player, this kid's a player, and I see Lookman in a very similar light. You know, we all know about the absolute clanger he had, the penalty against West Ham, but fair play to him. You know, he's kept them, he's dug them out of a few holes this season, and on his day, he's a very, very good player. He can play on both flanks, and he can play through the middle. Bobby Reid's another useful player. He can find the back of the net. Really impressed with your man Jack Harrison, the midfielder they got from Southampton.
Harrison Reid.
Harrison Reid. Sorry. Really impressed with him. Really good player. Really good technician. Yeah, sort of like a sort of a throwback to like a Paul Scholes. Obviously hasn't got the quality, but that kind of picks the ball up and sprays it. You know,
it reminds me of Ryan Woods at Brentford when we used to rave about him.
Yeah.
And not just because they both got red hair, but I feel he's a similar type player. I mean, I couldn't even tell you. I think Ryan Woods is at Millwall now, which you wouldn't have thought would have suited him at all. But yeah,
right.
Harrison Reid, he reminds me a little bit of him. He's been very good for Fulham this season. They've got a lot of good players. The two centre backs are very good. The goalkeeper's on loan from Paris Saint-Germain. He's a French international. They've got a good side. I think if they stay up and made some smart signings in the summer, I think they could go on and maybe get themselves up towards the top 10. I think they've got a chance of doing that. We're talking about all Fulham players.
They've also got, don't forget, they've got Loftus-Cheek, who's a good player, and Guisa's been very, very good for them this season. So they've got talent, and now they've got players that can play football. They've got players that can score a goal, and they've got players that have played for big clubs and you know, on the big stage. So it'll be a tough game, a really tough game. I mean, it's night and day from the team that we faced. It'll be interesting to see how many players start for them on Sunday that actually started for them against us at the start of the season. I can't think there's going to be that many. Not many. The keeper was there, but maybe 4 or 5, if that. So it's a tough game. They play good football, and they're a hard team to play against. So if I think like any game, if we can get the first goal, I'd fancy us to go on and win the game, especially with Jack being back. But it's it ain't gonna be easy. That's for sure.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about John McGinn. He scored a couple of goals tonight against the Faroe Islands. I've seen a lot of people saying this is what he can do when he plays number 10, but you know what? If any of us are playing number 10 against Faroe Islands, you've got a chance of sticking the ball in the back of the net. No disrespect to what John McGinn's done there. I know he scored 2 international goals, but replicating scoring 2 goals against Faroe Islands probably isn't going to happen in the Premier League. But we do need to get something out of McGinn because he's a crucial player for us. When he's playing well, Villa are a better side. It's not quite been there. Maybe. No. I mean, a lot of the time he's had to sacrifice his own game this season by playing deep in the midfield too. And I actually think he did really, really well, like a lot of players, up until the COVID break. Since he's come back, since Villa have come back from the COVID break, you could level this at a number of players, to be fair, but I hold McGinn to a higher standard than most of our other players. We need more from him, don't we?
We do. I mean, for me, his game of the season was probably the away game against Arsenal when he scored after 20 seconds. Just that driving run that he made. Obviously, the goal was chalked off, but I think we've not
Chelsea
seen that
away
from him.
You know, as well. Chelsea away.
Yeah. I mean, these leads away. I thought he's had some great. He's had some brilliant performances. Of course, he has. But he know himself. He hasn't produced the kind of numbers that he would have liked to have done. especially in a team that's scoring more goals and creating more chances. But I think just the way he's been played, he hasn't had a settled position, and he's definitely playing a lot deeper than he's used to. And I think personally, you look at Barkley, he's really dropped off in form. And would you play Sanson and Luis and then have McGinn further forward? It's a tough call, but he certainly hasn't. He just hasn't. He hasn't got the heights that he had last season. And he's obviously had a bad injury and COVID, etc., etc. And but yeah, he just hasn't looked himself. And with McGinn, even if he doesn't play well, he gets about the pitch. He's there. He'll do something. He'll create something. But it just hasn't happened for him over the last sort of few months. But as you said, it's not happened for anyone really. So I'm not going to dig out any particular individual, because I think as a collective, they've all been pretty bang average. But yeah, he'll know himself. He's been below his normal standards. The McGinn engine that we're used to hasn't been there. But like I said at the start of the show, there's a few players that'll come back off international duty, and hopefully with a spring in their step, and hopefully looking forward to getting back in the pitch, because I think this 2 week break could really set us up hopefully for a real strong finish. But again, I mean, I'll probably get panned for this, but if I had my selection on Sunday, I'd go back with Jack being in the team. I'd go back to playing Luis McGinn, and then I'd go back to playing Barkley, just in behind Watkins, with with Grealish and Traore on the flanks. I just think, again, he's not our player. Yes, I know he's not our player. Yes, I know he's on loan. But I just think if we can get him firing, I think he could be crucial for the last 10 games, because there's a player in there somewhere. And I'd certainly, with Jack back, I'd like to see him slightly further forward, playing in the kind of role that we saw him in his opening game against Liverpool, where he was quite frankly magnificent. But we'll not talk too much about Ross Barkley, because we'll only get absolutely panned for it. So next.
No, McGinn and Barkley will be two that will benefit from Jack being back, and Watkins as well, to be fair, more than anyone. I'd do the same as you with regards to team selection. You'd like to think in this 2-week break now that just put their arm around Barkley a little bit, G'd him up a little bit, showed him some clips about how good he was when he first came to Villa and how much of a difference he made to the side. Just use that 2-week time where he's not been away on international duty, just to give him some love, give him some focus, and hopefully set him up raring to go for the week. And I think you'll know what Dean Smith thinks his best team is on Sunday, because everyone should be available. Players have been away with internationals, other players have had rest, players have been training. I think everyone there, he'll pick what he thinks is his strongest team on Sunday, and the team he'll want to go into the back end of the season with. So I think it'll be interesting. I think when that team gets read out at 3:30 on Twitter, it's bound to be a meltdown, because there's a meltdown whatever team is picked. But you'll know what Dean Smith's thinking is going into the last 10 games, I think, when you see that lineup announced. Give me a prediction then. Tell me what you're thinking.
Do I have to?
Yeah.
2-0 Villa. 2-0 Villa. I fancy Watkins and Jack to bag.
I'm gonna go 2-0 Villa as well. I fancy that. I was about to say lump on 2-0, but if both me and Dolan have called it, absolutely do not lump on 2-0 Villa. Yeah, lump on anything but that. But yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you on the team selection, and I'm with you with what I think the result will be as well.
I give you a bell when I was out for my my daily walk, and so I got to keep those step counts up to past 10,000. But you were saying possibly play Jack in behind Watkins, and then you've got Traore and El Ghazi on the wings. That could be another option.
You could do that. El Ghazi's been a little bit hard done by at times, but then by the same token, sometimes he's come in and not done very much. But I think I look at our best performances when we were at that great start to the season. I'd want to go back to that team. I just think Barkley, I think put him with Jack again, and it might set off a spark, hopefully. I mean, the best link up we've seen since we came back from COVID was probably the header against Southampton, Jack's cross into him. So hopefully they can link
we
up
know
again.
He's not going to, we're probably not going to sign him, and he's not going to get in.
I don't think we will.
And he won't get in the England squad. And I've seen some articles around him today saying kind of what next for Ross Barkley, but I just hope he's not one of these players that sort of drifts off, and kind of has a bit of a, a nothing sort of latter part of his career, because I just still think he's a quality footballer.
Great player.
The kind of footballer that I was really excited to see, and sadly it hasn't happened for him since January. So let's see what these last 10 games can bring. Hopefully the mood lifts, the club are lifted, the players are lifted, and hopefully, we can at least get some fans back for that Chelsea game. That'd be
Get me back in there.
If we could have 10 or 15,000 for the Chelsea game, and then we end the season. And I think now, if you ask me where we'd finish and you offer me a top 10, I'd take a top 10. I'd take a top 10 now. I think that'd still be where we were. Obviously, of course, we were hoping for maybe a top 6 or a top 8, but top 10 for me is still massive progress. Progress. And I'm not going to let 4 or 5 games of football completely dictate our entire season, because I think we've been too good to let 4 or 5 bad performances ruin the season and overshadow what's been a really, really positive season. And I know, again, we'll probably get flack for that, but that's just my opinion. And everyone's entitled to their opinion. And honestly, if you want to criticise the football club and criticise Dean Smith, it's absolutely fine. I've no problem with that. You can do and you can say what you want. That's the whole point of an opinion. That's the whole point of social media. That's why we come on here. We debate. We give our points of view. But just saying, from my perspective, I'm really, really excited about where the club's going, and I'm really positive, and I'm really looking forward to hopefully a really exciting summer. And for me, Dean Smith's the right man. That coach and team we have is it's just the right blend to bring us to that next level. And it's all about progression, and we're certainly on the way to to having a really, really good season. And it's again, ask anyone at the end of the last season, would you have taken a comfortable top 10, top 12 finish after last season? Absolutely. I don't want to, I'm quite happy not to be in a relegation battle for once. It suits me down to the ground. So it's all good. It's all good for me.
Yeah, I mean, it's progress for the football club, for Chris Dolan not to be saying I take 17th. That's progress, I think, in my mind, and a nice way to end the show. There will be a post-match point on Sunday after the game, around 6:30 p.m. Obviously, we can't be precise because of stoppage time and things like that, but it'll be around that time in association with our good friends at Purity. And thank you as well to our good friends at Luke Roper for sponsoring this show and sorting us out with some gear that Dolan is modelling there that looks absolutely stupendous. So yeah, go on our website, use the code.
I bought this one, actually. I bought this one with the TVV 20 code.
I apologise. Well, yeah, go and use the TVV 20 code. Sort yourselves out some Luke Roper gear, and everyone is a winner. We'll be back on Sunday. Have a good Easter up the Villa.